The thing about any inner work, even if you have healed something, you may still have reaction patterns, behavior patterns left from whatever you healed. So it often isn't enough that you heal. You need to kind of go in and pinpoint those reactions and work them out. I want to bring you up to the present day. But keep in mind, as you're watching this, it might not be relevant anymore in my life. But quite recently I had a really rough breakup. Rough for me having to meet my behavioural patterns that I hadn't addressed. As I told you, I had a very sad inner child and I had a very angry inner child. What I managed to see in this breakup was a pattern that has followed me throughout my life, a survival strategy that I adopted when I was very, very young. I'd say somewhere around 7, 8, 9. I adopted a survival strategy. And that strategy was that I always prioritize myself first. Simply because no one else would. No one else would, so in order to survive, I had to. Throughout the years, that has led to so much angst and just bad situations. But I have to be honest and say that I am also grateful for putting that survival pattern in place, because it has actually helped me survive. But in this case, it annihilated my relationship. As I have started working with personal and spiritual development, that survival pattern has become less visible, because I have opened my heart chakra so much. I have become far more empathetic than I have ever been in my life. I am now capable of hearing other people's needs and answering up to their needs. But only up to a certain point. Up to the point where their need meets my need. Because when that happens, I automatically, by default, will just go to my need. And I will stand by my need no matter what. And it doesn't matter if my need is, well, it's not that big, and the other person's need is really needs to be addressed. I haven't been able to make that distinction. Because as soon as our needs meet, I just stand by my need. Because that is my pattern of survival. Now when I was finally able to see this pattern within myself, it was such a relief. Something just clicked in my brain. Some changes, they need to be slow and steady, kind of like a pearl maturing within an oyster. But other changes, they will be like a lightning bolt, just tearing through your life. And this was that. There's a before and after me realizing what I had done by using this survival technique. All of a sudden I saw that as soon as our needs have been met, I will just go to mine. And having seen that, I saw how deeply unhealthy that is, and how that really destroys any possibility of deeper relationship over a longer period of time. And all of a sudden I was filled with a want to meet other people's needs. And especially I'm talking now about in love relationships where one's needs are so prevalent. And it wasn't just what I want for the sake of making things work better. It's more like I'm longing to do it. I'm yearning to do it. I really, really look forward to meeting someone else's needs at the same time as my needs are being triggered. And I know that it will be a learning process. I know that I will likely fail sometimes, but I want to do it. Now that's all and well at the mental level, at the intellectual level. At the intellectual level, this was all very simple for me. But I had an experience that triggered the underlying trauma to that survival response. And first, after having been triggered, after an hour, I could feel my entire body just cramping up. And I was about to go, I was going to bed. I was going to sleep. And my body's just cramping up. And I'm just spiraling downwards. And I'm desperately trying to sleep. But in the end, I pass out from exhaustion, from just cramping. And I wake up about 2 hours later. And by then I'm deeply afraid. I am still, my muscles are all, my entire body is in tension, but I am afraid. I'm afraid of being attacked, of being hurt. And I just continue. I was in the trauma again. Now that is something quite different from, for example, being triggered or just being angry about something. It is something totally different, and being in the trauma again, it is actually reliving, actually doing it all over again, having the same experiences again. And I was reliving the trauma for 2 full days. I was in the trauma. And eventually I could see the pattern that emerged. There are 2 external people needed to fulfill this pattern. The first is clearly visible. The first person is the person that harasses me, that hits me, that scares me, that gets in my face and just makes me afraid, that chases me. Now that person is clearly visible. A person that I hadn't really seen before, however, is in many ways much more important. It is the person that stands there and does nothing. Person that turns away. The person that afterwards won't acknowledge my feelings, won't hear what I'm trying to say, and therefore won't address the situation. By not acknowledging my feelings and my feeling about the situation, they take any solution off the table. And it's not, that person could have stepped in and stopped it, but what is often even more important is afterwards making sure that it doesn't happen again, that I am not threatened or harassed or bullied again. And I got to relive so many moments like that. From being a young child to a teenager and to very recently. Situations where I have been scared, threatened, bullied, harassed, and people around have turned a blind eye. They've looked away and they haven't addressed the situation, neither in the actual moment or afterwards. And they haven't been willing to hear me, see me, let my experience take any space, and therefore they have not been able to help me solve the situation. And coming out of being in the trauma, I was lashing out in all directions. I was so angry. I was so angry with people that didn't help me when I felt that they should have. They should have. And I can still feel that people should have. But what does forgiveness teach us? Forgiveness teaches us that we are all doing the best that we can with the tools available and the consciousness available to us. We are all doing the best that we can. Now that might not be good enough. It often isn't good enough. But we are still forgiven because we are doing the best that we can with the abilities that we have in that moment. And even though I was angry and lashing out and really wanting people to meet my needs, I had to forgive them their inability to do so. And I had to realize that not everyone will be able to meet my needs. And when someone else who I wished was able is not, ultimately it is up to me to meet my needs. So I had to consciously put boundaries in place to make sure that I was not threatened again in the same manner, that I would not be subjected to that again. But the difference from my survival mode, my survival technique, where I would immediately stand by my need, is in this case, I have tried to be met in my needs, but when that has not happened, I have consciously looked at my need and put the boundaries in place that I need to do to meet that need within myself. But still, this is still about my need, isn't it? I am longing for the time when I get to meet someone else's need and it comes up against my need, and I need to weigh those against each other and make space for both people's needs. I am longing for that. I have also fine-tuned my life mantra. I felt that the past months have been full of situations where I have been affirming, sending out affirmations, calling in certain things, and I have fallen short because I haven't been clear enough. And I hope that my new life mantra does make it a little more clear. I wrote it down because I haven't learnt it quite yet. My new life mantra is, I walk harmonious paths to love, relationship, and cooperation. I walk harmonious paths to love, relationship, and cooperation.